All right, and we're back with an extra load with Leilani Li. Leilani. So, is there anything burning that you'd like to ask me?
Well, first and foremost, I'd love to ask you, how long have you been in journalism?
It's funny because I'm like, I wouldn't really call this journalism, but I have been
Podcasting?
off and on for years now. So this started, Webster Style started as a style blog back in 2009.
Okay.
So I think I incorporated a podcast into it about 2011. And so then it was more tech and style. So I hadn't really discovered fragrances yet and that thing. And also did comic books and stuff like that, both there and with some friends of mine on their podcast. Had some life-changing events in 2014 that caused me to pull back on a lot of things. So I stopped podcasting. I was pretty sporadic with regards to the website just because just I had other things going on that needed my attention. So back in 2019, I said I want to start podcasting again. So I started and I was trying to figure it out. So it was pretty sporadic. And then the pandemic hit. And then I said to myself, I am going to make it where I'm doing this weekly.
Mhm.
Because before I was doing it maybe once every month, once every 2 months. Like I'm doing this weekly. And by doing that, I found my structure and my formula, how I wanted to do things. And I've pretty much done it weekly for more than 3 years now, with a couple breaks in between seasons. Like technically it's a season four, so I do each season is 50 episodes. So
Oh,
I have been doing it pretty much concurrently every week for 3 years now. So the latest episode that was published was 164.
mhm.
At the time of this recording, you and I think by the time this will actually come out, 165 will be out as well. So I did that, and then that with me going to comic cons and conventions, I've started to add more video. And then that then has led me to, contacting your representation and others to do these interviews for YouTube, which then also get incorporated into the podcasting as well. I have always been told I have a radio voice, and even in my professional life, they're like, "We need somebody to go speak." Okay, you're going, and that's never. I have no problems with a microphone and being on stage and being in front of people. So it's always been kind of natural to me, I guess.
Nice. Nice. Who are your top three guests that you would love to have on your podcast? If you could pick anyone, rather it be a celebrity, a politician, an athlete, or just a regular civilian, like who are the top three people that you need on your podcast and you would consider your podcast complete? Not
Ooh,
complete,
that's
but just like, wow, I've interviewed or I've had my dream guest, my top three dream guests.
okay. So the first one would be Dennis Cowan. Dennis Cowan is a comic book artist.
Okay.
I met him years ago at um, sort of celebration of Black comic book creators back in
Okay.
Baltimore.
Mm.
He's one of the pioneers of Milestone Comics, but I had been I fell in love with his arts before Milestone, and I just loved his style. So he's definitely someone whom I love to talk to. Just could have the fan in me. Like I'm such a fan of his. Like I love his art. I love like I've watched his story over the years, just him talking and documenting stuff about Milestone and working. It's like
Yeah.
I just love him and his art so much, and inspired me as a it's weird to say young child, but as a child too, like I don't draw like that anymore. But his art is one of the art that inspired me to be creative, to draw. Like I was never really that good, but I enjoyed what I did. Inspired me to draw, inspired my love of comics. He's one of those artists that did that for me.
That,
Um, Trying to
so that would be a
think.
good. That would be a good one.
Yeah, yeah, I would love that. I would think I would love to interview Probably The Rock. It sounds so cliche,
No,
but
that's
I'm a
no.
humongous wrestling fan, and he gives such great interviews. It would be just a dream to just talk to him. At this point, I'm like, what else can I talk to him about that anybody else hasn't talked to him about? But he is such a presence, and just from everything I've seen as far as interviews and how he talks to people, he makes people feel so at ease, and I love that about him. So I would love to interview him if that ever came into play.
Yeah, he's actually from the Bay Area. I think he's from Hayward, which is where I used to live at.
Mhm.
I'm not from there, but I remember a lot of people saying that he was from Hayward or something. Yeah, he's a good one. I love The Rock.
And who would be the last person?
Oh, and they can be dead or alive, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah, if that broadens
Oh,
your
well,
your,
that
your
that's
pick.
okay. That's easy then. Michael Jackson.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. You know, um, so Michael Jackson, Whitney Houston, um, Tina Turner, I love. And when I was younger, I loved their music and didn't really understand, how, the fame aspect of it.
Right.
And now that I'm older and realize, how big of stars they were, I'm like, wow. And it was all based off of pure talent.
Right.
And just,
Right.
yeah, it's all about talent back then. It still is about talent, but
Right.
also if you have a look, looks get you far these days as well. Back then, it had to be talent. You could have the look, but you had to have the talent. And Whitney Houston, Michael Jackson were really, really some really talent. I mean, Michael Jackson's impact continues to dominate every aspect of music. I mean, maybe
Yes.
maybe not like rock, but yeah, I feel like every aspect. That's crazy. I love Michael Jackson.
Yeah. Michael Jackson just is. What can you say about his music and his impact? It's so amazing even to think of it now. And when I was a kid doing, I guess really the height of Michael Jackson, Thrillomania and
Yeah,
everything. And even now it's like you still hear his influences everywhere, and his music is so timeless. And you bring one thing up about talent. You think back in the day, before music video, all people heard was your record. You
yeah,
may have
exactly.
gotten on American Bandstand. You may have gotten on some little local teeny bopper show back in the 50s and 60s, but they didn't know. I remember, I forget what group it was, but the whomever booked them for whatever TV show didn't even know they were black
Oh,
until
really?
they showed up. Like, but that's the sort of things you had back then. Like, no one knew who people were. They just knew the music was good. And like you said, off of talent, off of
Yeah,
sheer talent.
yeah. Did you watch the Because when I think about Michael Jackson, I always think about Whitney Houston. Did you watch Whitney Houston's the new Whitney Houston movie recently?
No, no, I haven't seen that yet.
I loved it. It was sad, but it was really like good to see. It's just really sad. But we didn't deserve Michael Jackson and Whitney Houston.
That I agree with. And
The
Whitney's
world
death, and I
made
think
them
about how
up.
it happened. Yes.
Yes,
I
they
mean,
did.
both of them. I keep forgetting how. I mean, I remember how Michael died, but I always put that part out of my head when I think of him. Same with
It's
Whitney. Like I purposely forget how they passed away because of the sort of impact that they had, and for me, more so Michael than Whitney, as far as like the music, and Whitney's just amazing, and her music is timeless. But for me, Michael just
you're Michael. Yeah,
that was just that was my child. Like I was literally a wee younging when Thriller was 84, so that's what I was 6 in 84. So like I grew up in the era of peak Michael Jackson. So my
yeah.
whole childhood, like I had a little fake Thriller jacket at one point in time. Like it's
That's crazy, actually. For me, because I come from the era of he's already there, but for you,
right,
you are coming from the era of them going on shows and they don't even know that they're black, and
right,
let alone a big deal. They're not. They're not. They're not anyone. They're just a group trying to make it, and they're a group. And then to go from
yeah,
that to Thriller, to being on MTV because
right,
MTV was rock, and I know that Michael Jackson was one of the first, right? He was one of the
Yeah,
first.
Mike and Prince, because David Bowie said, if you don't play any black artists, you're not playing my music.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, and then just continuously, and then all the different changes. You know, are seeing him catch on fire on this
Right.
damn
Yeah, I
stage.
remember that. Yeah.
Like my that's like my Rihanna, because you know Rihanna's my girl, and I remember her from Music Is the Sun to just
You know, the funny thing
continuously.
is about Rihanna, a lot of people like diehard Rihanna fans don't even know what Pawn and Replay is.
Really?
Yeah, I remember, I forget where I was in, I think it was a radio station or whatnot, and they had like people like trying to get Rihanna tickets. This was a couple years ago,
Sun.
and they're like, "Oh, I love Rihanna," and they didn't know the song. I'm like that was Pawn and Replay. That was her
Which
first
one? You
single. That
want to
was
know what
what,
it is?
2000. That was 2005.
2000. I feel like it was 2006 or maybe 2005. But you want? I'll tell you something. Rihanna, for some people, not for everyone, but for some people, Rihanna did not really start getting really, really, really popular until
Mhm.
Umbrella. When
Yeah, you're
Umbrella
right.
came out, it was just that was like a
That was
mega
the pop
hit.
crossover hit.
Yes, that was just like
Yeah,
a mega hit. So Umbrella is when, and then from there it was just the Chris Brown incident, and
right,
then the Good Girl Gone Bad, and then she just didn't give a fuck. That was so
right.
different. I love her. I really, so I get it. I get it about Michael for you. I always actually think about my idols like Rihanna and Beyonce, you know, and think like I'm happy that they're staying healthy and things like
Hmm.
that, because you know you know how it
Yeah,
is.
yeah,
Or
yeah. I
yeah.
know it's there are too many legends who left us
Yeah.
way too soon.
It seems like they all,
And
yeah.
yeah, in all genres, and even now, I think like because they just had this report about they've arrested someone in the murder of Tupac. What 20? No, it was what 90?
I think they
It's
said 26 years now.
95. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
95. Because that was my, no, excuse me, it was 96. That was my freshman year of college.
Oh,
It was
really?
right after we started. Yes.
I love how
Because
you have these timestamps, and you can go right back to what you're doing, and you know exactly what was going on. I'm not that good.
I've always had that ability. Like I remember things based on where I was and what I was doing. Like Tupac, I remember I was freshman year of college, and he was shot on my boy's birthday, and he's
Oh
that
yeah,
my boy is still one of my best friends to this day. He was
yeah.
in my wedding and everything. So
Oh
that's
nice.
what, since 1996. So I remember that, and then Biggie was killed the following year in 97, and that was around March because I remember we were out, and this is before we had cell phones. So
Hmm.
we were out. So I remember coming back to my dorm room, and I had an answer machine with the tapes. And I just remember my boy Ben, he's just like, I get a message. He's like, he said my government name. He said, they killed Biggie. Man, they done shot Biggie. And that was the message.
It was so sad.
Yeah, it was. So I just think of all of those musical legends who whether it's violence, whether it is drugs, who, and even going back to like Hendrix and people from like all those people who really shaped what we call music
Culture.
now,
Yeah.
are just gone, and it's sad, but I will say
Work your
at
soul.
least we have their music. We
Yeah,
still
yeah.
have their music, so that's a good thing.
I'm glad that the new legends are taking care of themselves, drinking their
Yes,
water, not letting the
yes.
industry get the best of them,
Yes.
because it's crazy. So now that we're on that, and I know that Michael is one of your favorite performers, who else do you like? What? So this is like two questions in one. Who are your favorite musical artists other than Michael Jackson? And what are your favorite musical genres?
Okay, well, first is Nas. I've been a hip hop head for as long as I can remember. Um,
That's a good answer. I love
Nas
Nas.
is my favorite MC. He is, except for maybe the album with Kanye, and even that I appreciated it when it came out. I have loved everything he's put out for the most part. Like every MC, everybody has their weak stuff. Like uh Nostradamus, I wasn't really feeling that too much. And there were maybe one or two other projects he put out over the years. But for the most part, you especially the past 3 years and those albums he's put out, oh my God, it's
I like three Nas
ridiculous.
songs. I like three Nas songs that I can think of off top. If I Ruled the World,
Hmm.
and then the song "I Know I Can Be Who I Want
Yes.
to Be." Yeah, I was really young when that song came out, and I love that song because I was like, "Oh, I can be whoever I want to be" because of the song. And then a song with Amy Winehouse called, I think it's called "Cherry Wine." Where is he?
Yes, that's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah, those are my three top Nas songs. I love. I actually like Nas a lot as well. He's always been a staple in the music industry, and he's not that problematic.
No, no, no. Especially not now. I think back in the day, everybody got in a little scuffles, but he's never had any major incidents,
Like
and
him and
he's
Snoop
been
Dogg
really
are so
smart.
calm. Yeah,
Right.
he's very, very. I think that he is definitely smart, and he's acted. He's done all types. Now that I'm thinking about it, he's done all types of stuff.
Yeah.
I like
And
Nas.
also, I mean, and he invested his money wisely. Tech invested in Ring, and they bought by Amazon, so he made some money off of that too. So he's definitely done very well for himself, and I'm happy as well because he's definitely one. I've always liked his stuff. I didn't get on the Nas like I didn't. It's weird like that when Illmatic came out. Like I heard it, but I think I was more so I got more into Wu Tang then. I didn't get into Nas until it was written. So when I Ruled the World and all that came out, like that album was what got me into him. But I always loved Wu Tang as well. I've always been a hip hop head, but Wu Tang, like everything they put out, I've always loved.
They have
I love
their
R&B.
yeah. Wu
I
Tang
like
had
all
that
types of
show
music.
on. Sorry,
Yeah,
Wu Tang
Showtime. I mean, not Showtime, Hulu. Yeah, that was a good
Hulu.
show
Yeah,
too.
you watched it? Okay, yeah. I need
Yeah,
to finish watching it. Yeah. I have never gotten into Wu Tang, but I did watch that show a little bit. I was like, I actually need to get into them. Their story is very interesting.
it is. It really is. But I like all types of music. I tend to more gravitate toward R&B and hip hop. Never been a big country fan. There may be songs here, especially back in the day with a lot of the country that kind of crossed over. And this is that peak '90s stuff like Leanne Rhymes, Shania Twain. Those are the things that kind of crossed over in the mainstream. Um, I am not a Taylor Swift fan.
You're
I've
not a.
never liked her music. I again, her music not for me. And that's
I
okay. Her music
I
is
hear
not for
that a
me.
lot. I hear that a lot. I actually, I like a song by Taylor Swift called "Ride." I really like
Mhm.
that song called "Ride." Is it called "Ride"? I think it's called "Wildest Dream." I don't know what it's called, but all I know is that there's like a safari. I don't get into her, but there is one song that I do like, and I know that a lot of people really do like her.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Uh, I tend to stay more. It's weird. Like I'm an old man. I tend to stay more old school. I don't listen to a lot of more contemporary stuff. I'll get in my car, I put on Pandora. It's like, okay, this is the Drew Hill station. This is the 112 station. Okay, this is the Bad Boy station. This is and these are stations I've had pre-made since like 2008,
Mhm.
2007.
Yeah,
Like I had them every so often. But yeah, I tend to if I do rock, it's a lot of maybe more 80s stuff.
yeah. Oh,
Um,
I love
Stuff
80s
like
music.
Bon Jovi, Van Halen, that sort of stuff. I like that hair metal sort of or the hair band rock era. I've always loved that. That is again, I'm an 80s kid, so that sort of stuff I think it takes me back, but also I feel like a lot that is timeless because it just we hear it all the time is using so many things, whether it's commercials or movies or whatnot, and it really sets a theme for a lot of emotional involvement in those sort of things. Even
Hmm.
early '90s stuff as far as grunge, I've always loved Nirvana, and I love when they were putting things out. Couldn't tell you who puts out a lot of music now because I don't listen to a lot. Well, let me phrase that. I don't end up not listening to a lot of hip hop because a lot of it for me just again maybe it's the old man in me. I can't. There's some newer artists like I like a little bit of the baby, some of the stuff he's put out. Who's the other guy? I don't really consider J Cole new
Yeah, he's not new,
because
but he like
yeah
yeah.
J Cole's
But
been around for a while.
but
Like
he,
those cats. Oh,
give
who
me
did
two
I
seconds.
just
I'm gonna
see?
get my charger. I'm gonna get my charger.
Bro,
Sorry. Yeah, J. Cole's. I feel like J. Cole's been out for a little bit
Yes.
now.
Yeah, he's like 10 years now, so he's not really new. But yeah, I tend to gravitate toward what I like. If I hear something, regardless of when it comes out, I'm like, oh, that's a nice song. I like that. Let me listen to that on Spotify or whatever. Or, you know, back in the day, I used to buy the single or something like that.
I read that. I read that. After 30, you tend to not discover new music anymore, or just not want to. I don't know how accurate that is, but I did read
Well,
that.
to well, this is the thing. I think, and this is I think we are now in general as far as our society. I think because there is so much choice, it's harder to discover. And
And
that's
because there's so
even all
much,
media.
yeah, and there's so many ways to consume media. You
Right.
you have so much access to it that it, as like you said, it's so much that it's hard to find anything. And you're just like, fuck it, I'm just gonna go to what I know and search what I know.
Right, right, exactly. And I think that's what it comes down to. Like I hear some, and I forget uh, I think her name was Lady London, and I happened to see her on Instagram the other day, and I was like, oh, this song is hot. So I went and subscribed to her on YouTube and started listening to some of her music. Like, okay, I like her. I like what
Oh,
she's saying.
nice.
I like rapping. I don't. People like what they like, so I'm not going to say it's garbage, but I know for me, if I'm listening to a female rapper, I don't want to really hear about your booty hole. I'm
Yeah, no,
just
you're
saying.
right. It has
I want to hear some lyricism. I want to hear some skill, and I think that
Doja.
we've gotten away from that in many respects with some new artists, male and female.
You
So
have to
like when
listen
I
to
hear
Doja.
some real lyricism, some skills, some musicality, one of the things that I think as I listen to like older artists, and in particular I'm talking about hip hop artists, they knew music. It wasn't just about rapping. Like they knew music. Over on Nerds Rule the World, we do Hot or Not. So we'll sit and give our opinions of different tracks. And there's one cat, Easy Mill, he's a new artist, Filipino guy. He just got signed by Eminem and Dr. Dre. He is fire. He is
Oh, nice.
absolutely fire. And then one of the things I appreciate about him is he could put a song together. Like he produces his own stuff too. So like bars, hooks, chorus. Like he puts a song together instead of just, yeah, I'm going to spit and it had this like nice little singy hook and I'm gonna spit again. Like he knew how to construct a song, and I appreciated that. Like he understands music, and that is what I look for, and that is what I think a lot of artists you can tell like they don't understand music. It's like I want to rap, I want to do this, but you don't understand about music, you don't understand about putting a song together, you don't understand any of these things.
That's true. Um, so you were saying for the female rap that you want to listen to like more lyrics. I would suggest maybe listening to some of Doja Cat's new album.
Oh, I like Doja.
Yeah, it's really hip
Yeah.
hop focused, and there's a lot of elements from back in the day and like
Mhm.
incorporated into her album. There's a couple times when I was listening to it, and I did feel like I was younger in my dad's car listening to like hip hop with him.
Right.
There were a couple tracks that actually embody that element for me. Not surprisingly, but not surprisingly, because she's really good actually.
Yeah,
So if you
she's good.
want to, you like her
I've
though,
seen her rap. Yeah, Doja's cool. I like her rapping more than singing, and because of that, she has an understanding of music. So you can tell as far as when she's on a song, when she's rapping, like she has an understanding of music instead of just okay, I want a hot beat and I want to spit on it, and that's all I want to do. It's like she
breaking.
understands about a song, and I
Mhm.
think that is something we miss a lot of nowadays, at
Yeah.
least in hip hop genre. You know, other genres like it's still you got to put a song together, but even a lot of like country, like you get a lot of more that hip hop sort of beat making and whatnot infiltrating country music and other
Hip
genres
hop is
where
very popular, and
yes.
that is why. So hip hop is so popular, and they just. I think that's what it is. I think that it's not oversaturated, but I think that it's just so popular that
Hmm.
um, it's just being stretched. I mean, the creativity, the samples. I mean, I actually love samples, and I always have. But
Right.
like the sampling, it's becoming um, predictable,
Yes.
and
I
that
that's where you put that.
Yes. Oh, I love it. I mean, I still love it, but it's just predictable. It's like there's elements into a rap song, and it's all the same elements, and it just kind of that's like when the Migos came out, they were so different because they sounded so different. Or when Drake came out, he was different because he was singing. Or when
Right.
Kanye came out, he was different because he
Right.
was, it wasn't gangster rap. I think that right. Kanye came out around the time when
Yeah, it
right
was
it was more
94.
yeah, and I feel like
Yeah.
Kanye really changed the way like the hip hop artist kind of looks,
Yeah,
and
I
it's
yeah, I
it,
agree. Yeah.
he really definitely did, and it's just really changed from there. Then Drake added emotion, and it's just it's just and then it's just a lot, but it has changed a lot. It does really suck. Okay, so I
Well,
have one
good.
more question for you. Well, actually,
Sure.
I have plenty of questions for you. So tell me how many you want me to ask. But do you like to do you like to travel out of the country?
Yes, yes. I when I'm able to, I do like to travel out of the country. Yes.
Okay, so then the next question is, what is your favorite country or countries to visit?
Uh, of what I've visited, I would have to say Jamaica. That's the most recent one.
Oh,
A lot of the other countries, when I visited Europe, that's been a while ago. So the
yeah,
most recent country I visited is Jamaica, and I really enjoyed it there. I think it's, and I would say this probably for any black person. When you go to a country that's predominantly black person coming from America, it's a different vibe. It is a totally different vibe, and I think that sense of calmness, like you don't realize that you're kind of, I wouldn't say like I'm afraid, but there is a different state of being when you're the majority
I understand.
in a country
Hmm.
compared to when you're not. And yeah, it's just such a surreal feeling. Like I'd been there before, um, but this last time that we went, it was just like I really was able to think about it and process and like, oh, this is what I'm feeling. This is why I feel so at home because it's us
Yeah,
and there's none of the other BS surrounding anything else.
yeah. I've never been. I've actually been scared to go out there, but I have homegirls that have been out there, so I kind of been thinking about maybe going. A lot of my friends have been out there. It looks like it's really fun. They always do like hella stuff, and I know the food's so good.
Yes. Oh yes.
Maybe I'll go out there one day.
Definitely. I think you will definitely enjoy it, especially if you want to eat. I
Did
love
you
some
start?
oxtails,
Oh
some
yeah, yeah,
callaloo, and I don't eat fish though, so that's always an issue when you go on an island. But I eat
yeah,
everything else.
yeah. That sounds good. And jerk, did you have any jerk chicken?
Oh yes, you gotta have jerk
Yeah.
chicken.
I
Got to.
have to make a mean jerk chicken. I looked it up. I looked up this great ass recipe and I like perfected it. It's so good. And I even added stuff to it and it's
Nice.
so good. Yeah, it's so good. I should go to Jamaica though and get some authentic Jamaican jerk chicken. What about the ganja out there?
I do not partake.
Okay.
That is, it's people always like, really, you don't like. I just have this thing about smoking anything.
No,
I
it's okay.
always
I
have
understand.
been that way, and it's like it's just not for me. It's never been something that's ever appealed to me. And
Yeah,
people
coming from
understood, but they're always surprised.
I don't think that's a surprise. I think that's like refreshing because so many people do smoke weed, especially nowadays when it's it's legal.
Right.
It's not a stigma and it's not stigmatized. It's legal everywhere. Pretty much. Is it legal out there?
We have dispensaries, and you
Yeah,
can
yeah,
get a
yeah.
card. So
Oh, you
yeah,
have.
they
Wait, you
yeah, I
have to
think
have a
the
card.
yes, the law changed here. I think this year in DC. I think it changed last year where you can have like up to an ounce in your personal possession and
Oh,
personal use in your home. And I think the law up in Maryland changed this year as well.
hmm.
But there was like a dispensary that popped up near me in the past 6 months.
Oh,
So yeah.
we'll probably pop up soon. It's okay. I was gonna ask you how the weed was out there in Jamaica, but I'll have to go find out myself.
Yeah, I can't. I wouldn't know. I've heard it was good though from some of the people I went with. They partook.
Hmm. Same, same. That's what I was gonna see if you could reiterate what I had heard. Well, I am all out of questions.
Okay, no problem. Well,
Mhm.
Leilani, I appreciate your time, and it's definitely been a pleasure.
It's been definitely been a pleasure to be here, and I appreciate you having me. Thank you so, so much.
Thank you. Take care.
You take care as well.